Hi, Sabrina. How you doing?
Good.
Cool. I kind of feel like I want to say, today the influencer is sitting on the couch. I love that guy. I don't know his name.
Okay. Influencer's a bit much.
No, but who's that person, that couple we like to watch? That doesn't matter. Anyways, so I got you on here and put you on the spot because you keep talking about intuitive eating. I keep thinking I know what I'm talking about, but you keep telling me I'm wrong. So I'm making you, on camera, tell me exactly what it is so I can go back and look at it later because I'm tired of talking about it, and then when I stop filming, you're like, no, that's not how it works. So,
Isn't that everything that we do, though?
First off, tell me generally what in the world intuitive eating is.
Okay, so intuitive eating is about listening to your body. So at its core, it's you listen to what your body's telling you it wants to eat, and you feed it that, and that keeps you well nourished. It's a disregard of diet culture. And like a lot of these are just buzzwordy sort of things, but like that's really what it is. So it's looking inside yourself. So if you eat something and it makes you feel sick to your stomach, not that that's a bad food, but it's maybe just not good for you, and maybe you just don't want to eat that anymore. It's a introspective way of eating.
So, question. We used to do keto. It was like keto. Keto lowers my blood sugar. Keto will save my life. Keto make me lose weight. Keto's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like you're saying that sometimes your body actually doesn't want you to do keto and that you should listen to it. So why in the world are we not doing keto anymore if keto was right when we started this channel 2 years ago?
So, a couple of things. Like, let me see where to start here. Well, okay, so let's just go. When we started this channel, we were very much into a keto, low-carb way of eating because you're right. It does do good things for your blood sugar. It does help propel weight loss, things like that. But it's very restrictive. I don't think anybody will argue about that fact. Like, you are restricting your carbohydrates. You are restricting your ability to eat as you normally would. And I mentioned videos ago that as part of my finishing grad school, I worked with a dietetics practice on a project that was centered around intuitive eating and health at every size. And all the actual research that I had to do for grad school on these concepts really resonated with me, and it shone a light on the relationship that I had with food while trying to be keto, if you will. And for me, it's not that eating low carb doesn't make me feel better, but you also have to balance like physical and mental. So while it makes me feel better physically, mentally, the gymnastic act of restricting doesn't always make me feel great. So we're talking about Thanksgiving time, and macaroni and cheese is my jam. And now I have to restrict that because it's carbohydrates, or have to replace it with cauliflower mac and cheese, which is good, but it's not the same thing. And so then I feel this like longing of like, oh, I didn't get to have my holiday meal because I'm keto.
So does that mean that intuitive eating allows you to eat food that is inherently bad for you and hurts you and make you suffer? And so you can essentially choose to temporarily hurt yourself by eating food that you shouldn't eat?
Well, first of all, there is no good food or bad food, right? There just is food. There is food that can make you feel bad. So if you are allergic to shrimp and you eat shrimp, that food makes you feel bad. That doesn't mean that shrimp is bad. It might be bad for you, but it's not bad just as its own. The same thing for candy. Candy is not bad. It might make you have a stomach ache, which means it might have been bad for you, but candy in and of itself is not bad. So that's the first thing. The idea that intuitive eating allows you to just eat things that are harmful to you. It allows you to eat whatever you want, but it urges you to look within yourself and see if the things that you are eating are what you need. Obviously, if you eat a food and your lip swells, or you eat a food and you can no longer breathe, or you eat a food and you have a excruciating stomach ache, that's not something that your body wanted, right? So then you would not continue eating that. Because if you do continue eating that and you continue feeling awful and you continue having to go to the ER to get Benadryl treatments or whatever, steroid treatments, you're not really honoring what your body wants. Your body's telling you it doesn't want that. But it doesn't mean that it's bad for me just because it didn't work for you. So we can't make this like restrictive eating plan.
But when I eat sugar, like Skittles, it's the best thing ever. I have a great time. I feel wonderful. It's good. I go to the doctors and I get yelled at for having very bad vitals. But my intuitive self says, eat the Skittles. That's what you want. How do you balance the two?
Well, first I would ask, do you not have any negative consequences from eating sugar? Anything that you don't necessarily enjoy? But if you are eating that and you feel great, you don't feel like you have any negative side effects from it, and that's what you want to eat, and your doctor's telling you otherwise, your doctor's really not helping you honor what your body needs. And that is a subject all on its own, medical fat phobia, all those sorts of things. It's a whole other video. I don't want to dive too deep into that, but you do actually have to work to balance your physical and mental or emotional bodily needs. It's not like it's, intuitive, oh, I can just do it with my eyes closed. It actually does take work, shockingly.
Well, then, can you kind of describe what you actually do when you intuitive eat? Obviously, it's not just go and open the fridge and eat whatever you fancy. What exactly does it mean to do it?
So in short, and honestly, I was thinking that maybe I could take you on a what I eat in a day video, like what I eat intuitively in a day, and kind of give you my thought process out loud as it's happening. I think that might be more helpful than the explanation I'm about to give you right now. But in short, I think about, okay, am I hungry? Sure. What do I want to eat? What sounds good to me? And then when I figure out what that thing is, I go and I find it or something similar to it if I don't have it and I can't go out and get it at the moment. And I'll eat that. In terms of a portion, I always have to think about, I don't have to think about, but I always think about, how much of this do I want? Am I big hungry? Am I little hungry? Do I just want a snack because I want a snack? How much of this do I really want and need? Sometimes I overestimate that. So I'll make a big portion of something, and then when I sit down to eat it, it's way too much. I just put it away. I don't need to eat the rest of it just because it's on my plate. I'll eat it later. Sometimes I don't make enough and I'll go back and get more. It's really just kind of how do I feel? Thinking about how do I feel. Sometimes I'll make a plate of what I thought I wanted, and when I start eating it, it's not what I wanted. I'll save it for another time and go get something else.
So let's get personal for a second. You have PCOS. Mm-hmm. You have a low-level insulin resistance. You're overweight. Now that you've been doing this intuitive eating for a bit, how have those diagnosis, I guess? I don't know the right term. How have those things been going?
So I am overweight. I've pretty much been overweight all my life, I would say, at least all my adult life. And that is still the case. You can see me. I'm still overweight, and that just is what it is. I don't really have any qualms about that, which, again, we could probably have a whole nother video on that, but that just is what it is. I'm not really worried about it. I'm not focused on it. I will tell you that, just from a kind of being in the nutrition field and being kind of curious about how all these things work and how they manifest and how nutrition works through the body, I know that I have gained weight from not being keto, and I know that if I do go to like full keto, I will lose weight again, but I don't really care about that. The PCOS and insulin resistance kind of go together. So I've had labs done recently. I have labs done frequently because I have an endocrine disorder. I was holding, like, being keto was like kind of holding me in this limbo state of things were not quite right, but they were okay enough. Going back to allowing myself to eat things that I want to eat, which sometimes, yes, that involves eating bread or just having a Snickers bar or a brownie or whatever it is. Honestly, for me, I love sweet potatoes. That's like my jam. It has increased my insulin levels, and not to a dangerous point, but it just has increased it. And my symptoms are more noticeable. I would say that my lab values have not really changed, but I notice the symptoms more, if that makes sense. So that's just an interesting, like, who knows sort of situation.
So do you feel that this kind of way of eating now is more sustainable? Can you do this long term, or would you kind of eventually say, you know what, I'm gonna go back to keto for the rapid weight loss, or go back to Whole30 or whatever?
So it's sustainable because, first of all, it's eating what my body wants me to eat, right? That is sustainable. It did take a lot more thought in the beginning than it does now. Now I can kind of, like, now I recognize certain types of hunger, if that makes sense. And I know, like, I am hungry for a vegetable. I need big leafy greens right now. Like, that's what I'm feeling, I'm craving. So it's definitely sustainable. Will I ever go back to keto for weight loss? Hell no, absolutely not. Because you can look at any research you want. There is no research that supports intentional weight loss being sustainable. What I'm saying is, like, there are no long-term studies. So you'll see a study where people have achieved intentional weight loss and they've reached their goals, but there's literally zero follow-up. What happens after a year, after 18 months when the study's over with? Nobody has any idea. But what you can see is that even though the country as a whole has been on this huge weight loss thing and this obesity epidemic and trying to cure that, we're just gaining weight. We're getting bigger. And so there's nothing that supports intentional weight loss. So I'm not even going to attempt that. And also, it's been shown to be emotionally catastrophic to strive for intentional weight loss. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh, that's not true for me, but I mean,
on the average,
yes. So I just, I'm not going to pursue intentional weight loss through keto. Will I perhaps decide within myself to restrict more the types of carbohydrates that I eat based on how they make me feel? Probably. Especially because I am a person who's highly sensitive and typically allergic to just like half the medication I'm ever prescribed. So, so if I'm prescribed a medication that makes me feel bad and the alternative is to just not eat carbohydrates, I'll probably look at which carbohydrates, are affecting me, that are making me have to take that medicine, and take them out. But I would never go on the keto diet. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to go to that. These are the parameters of the keto diet. It has to be very personal to me.
Speaking of personal to you, on a day-to-day basis, how would you describe what you do tend to crave or eat or desire?
It ebbs and flows. So currently, I am like super into having a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, and it's the same bowl of oatmeal every single day. I put peanut butter and chocolate chips in it. Who knows why or how or what, but I genuinely feel great when I have oatmeal. And in fact, this last weekend, I didn't have oatmeal Friday, Saturday, or Sunday morning. And by Monday, I just kind of felt like sludge, like, ugh. I had oatmeal today. I feel tip top. Like, apparently I just want oatmeal in the mornings. I tend to find a food that I've been missing for a long time. So over the summer, I was super into fruit and like mangoes, bananas, like all those things that you couldn't really eat on keto. James just dropped something in the background. So all those fruits that I couldn't eat on keto, I couldn't get enough of them. I had to have popsicles, fruit flavored popsicles every single day of the week. Now that it's getting a little bit colder, I don't really care about fruit that much. I've had apples in the refrigerator for like 2 weeks and I haven't even tried to eat them yet. I'm getting more into things like hearty soups with crackers, or we had chili a couple of weeks ago, chili with cornbread, beans. I'm really into black beans. So I make this thing with, I don't even know what you would call it, but I like to have a baked sweet potato, like just half of it. And then I'll top it with shredded chicken, black beans, and some sour cream and avocado. I love to eat that. So something that just like feels a little hearty. Sometimes I go out and I have a soda. We do like to drink like our diet soda here, which I actually genuinely enjoy Diet Dr. Pepper. Like that specific taste of the Diet Dr. Pepper, I love. But if I'm out at a restaurant and I'm feeling cherry Coke-ish, like I'm gonna order a cherry Coke. I'm not really big into soda, but like recently that's been like a thing. It just kind of depends on the day. I know a couple of days ago, I was like, I think you'll remember, I was like, I really have to have a salad. Like, I need a salad. I don't care where we eat, but I gotta get a salad. So it just genuinely depends. There's not like a thing that I've latched onto, except for, I guess, my oatmeal for breakfast.
Okay. So, we're starting to close out here. You answered a lot of my questions, and I appreciate you doing this on camera. At least I can roll back now and say, see, this is what you said.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm like, no, go back and look what I said.
So here's the thing. Someone like me, I'm honestly terrified of it, to be completely frank with you, because I crave all kinds of things. I know I'm sugar addicted. So I crave all kinds of things that I know will spike my insulin, or sugar, I guess I should say, and raise me through the roof and would tear me apart. Like I really want to eat, biscuits and gravy. Or like I told you this morning, I'm craving Skittles like crazy. And if I gave into that, I find that I don't naturally know when to stop. I just keep going into the point of like, way too much food. So I get like really sick, and I'm afraid that that would happen. So what kind of advice can you give someone like me who's stubborn, but kind of wants to learn how to eat more to my body's signals, because I don't understand what they are, how to find them, and listen.
So intuitive eating is a process. That's, I think, the biggest misconception. So I think a lot of people want to come out of lifelong dieting, diet culture, and think, okay, I'm an intuitive eater now. I'm going to eat whatever I want. And without realizing there's a process. So you have to accept that you're leaving diet culture behind. You have to go through that process of allowing yourself to eat whatever you want, which is honestly, yes, that can be the scariest part. Like if I just give myself full reign to eat whatever I want, I'm going to do exactly that all day long. And you actually might do that in the beginning. It's a thing. Some people need to go to therapy to process their actual emotional eating. Because emotional eating is not being intuitive. That's you're shrouding your emotions with food. That's not intuitive. And so you may need to go to therapy and deal with why you're emotionally eating in order to just focus on what your body's telling you. You do have to go through a period of introspection to realize what your body is telling you. So I know when my body's like, girl, we need some greens. I can understand that feeling. Like I don't know how to explain it exactly, but I just have a very specific feeling that's like, you haven't had a vegetable in a long time. You need to eat one. So, things can run smoothly or whatever. But that was a process. That wasn't day one. That it took me a while to get there. There's work that has to be done. You read the book. I don't have it with me, but we'll insert a picture of it right here. Read the book. Do the work that's in the book. Some of it sounds a little bit hokey, but if you just go along with it, you'll like realize things about yourself that you need to work on or that you need to pay more attention to. And it's different for everybody. So my general advice is just know that it's a process. It doesn't happen right away. And you may go off on a binge where you just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until you feel sick. But that's not always going to be the case if you do the work, which may involve therapy. You will get to a saturation point, as we like to say in research, where you're just like, you know what? I could not possibly keep eating like this. Like, I've got to rein it in. And that doesn't mean restricting yourself. It's just stopping yourself when you're full. So for me, my aha moment was, I can come back and eat this later, right? So like, I would say in dark days, I'm going to go to McDonald's. I'm going to get a 20-piece nugget. I'm going to get a McGangbang. I'm going to get a milkshake if their machine is working.
For those who don't know, what's a McGangbang?
A McGangbang is a McDouble and a McChicken at the same time. I'm also going to get a large Coke, and I'm going to get a large fry, and I'm going to get an apple pie. Get all of those things because I really am craving all of those things. And for me, it's realizing, girl, you can go and you can get just a McGangbang and a small fry, and you can go tomorrow if that didn't fulfill your need for McDonald's. I can go back tomorrow and get chicken nuggets. I can go back later tonight and get chicken nuggets if I just really didn't get my fill. And what I realized was just getting the one menu item was actually enough. But giving myself that permission to go back later and get more really woke me up to the idea that like this is not scarcity. Like I am not starving, I am not going without, and I can get some later. And with that, I will just say the one thing that I always tell people when I talk about this is intuitive eating is not for everybody. If you are a person who experiences food poverty, any kind of poverty really, if you live in a place where you don't have the availability of food, if you don't have the income to have food readily available for you, intuitive eating is not really something that you're focused on. You need to focus on eating and rather than eating what you want. So I will say that I have wasted food. Probably more food than a lot of people would want to waste, just trying to get through the intuitiveness. Like I said, I make a big portion of something, then I'm like, I don't actually want this, or I want 2 bites and that's it. And sometimes that food goes in the trash. That is a very privileged thing to be able to do. So don't feel bad if you're like, there's absolutely no way that I could afford to waste food to go on an intuitive eating journey. It's just not for you right now. And that's totally fine. If you are someone who needs rules, because that's your personality, you have to have structure, that is totally fine. I suggest you find rules and structure that work for you, not fit into the rules and structure of whatever diet that already exists. Make your own rules and structure that work for you. So that's like my kind of like, intuitive eating doesn't look the same for everybody.
So again, I really appreciate you being out there, being honest with me, and being open.
Yeah.
Because this kind of thing frustrates me when I'm doing it and you're like, James, no, you're doing it wrong. Any other last minute tips you want to provide before we just go ahead and sign off? This has already been a long video as it is.
I know. I would just say, I'm planning to do like a whole series. Like I'm not an expert. Let me start with that. I am not an expert at intuitive eating or health at every size, but I am a person with a master's degree in food and nutrition. So I know a thing or two about this stuff. I am, my professional colleagues are all like registered dietitians and nutritionists and all that stuff. I work in public health, so I do have a bit of knowledge in this. I have a master's degree. I know how to do research. So even though I am not the authority, the end-all be-all authority on it, I do know a great deal. I am going to do a series of videos where we kind of like walk through the different principles of intuitive eating. And you can kind of like see it from my perspective and think about it from your own perspective. And, I would advise you to get a copy of the book. It is on Audible if you don't like to read, so go for it that way. And just do the work. we're going to work through it. And, if you have questions and you're like, I do not want to ask a question on a YouTube video comment, we do have an email address. I'll put it in the description box below. You can email your comment. Just know I am not going to give you diet advice. I can give you kind of advice of how I looked at intuitive eating. I can give you advice on resources to find on the internet, on social media, people to follow, things like that. But if you want to put it in the comments, put it in the comments. I'm happy to answer you there. So yeah, let's do intuitive eating.
Thank you, baby. I love you.
I love you too.
This has been Eating Our Asses Off, and peace.